Ladies and gentlemen.
Hi, and welcome to a series of interviews with artists and companies who will be appearing at LiF 2024. These conversations are about their experiences, influences, recommendations, and we hope capture insight into folk about their work and their passion for improv. A big thank you to VUJO, who will be performing at LiF with Like Father, an improvised drag king musical about manhood. Their show starts at 5:15 p.m. on Saturday the 20th of April at the Unity Theatre. Tickets are £7 or £6 for Creative Pool members and can be purchased online at www.unitytheatre.co.uk. You can check out the shows and the rest of the festival lineup at www.liverpoolimprovfestival.com. You can follow the festival on our various social media channels, which are on the website, and you can follow VUJO on Instagram at VUJOZA. Thank you and enjoy. Hello, welcome VUJO, lovely to see you.
Hello, lovely to see you too.
So we have had a brief conversation beforehand, and if there are any improvising pianists out and about in Merseyside, please contact me on wingimpro.ms@gmail.com because VUJO is looking for someone to play with them on their festival date, which is fast approaching. I have to say, I'm getting slightly going, oh. So, which is, oh, my brain's not working today, which is the 20th of April, and it starts at 5:15 at the Unity Theatre, and it is called Like Father, an improvised drag king musical about manhood. So that's kind of, that's the little plug. That's the thing. If there are any pianists or keyboard players who wish to come join us, I will provide beer tokens for you. So just get in touch with me and we can put you together. So I've sent through some questions and we'll kick off with the first. When was the first improv or spontaneous show? And it can be in any art form, because I consider improv a very broad church, from Fools, the Nomadic Fools, to commedia, performer, so where was your first spontaneous improv show, where and when?
I think this would be like even one of the childhood memories right now. I remember seeing things on TV. Well, I think it was like a children's show. It's a bit of a blurry memory. But what impressed me as I was like a 6-year-old or so is that people were like just naturally funny. I think it's something that comes up very often with improv. It's like, how do I get to be so naturally funny? And I was actually like really curious. And also at that time, I was fascinated with humor as such. And obviously, like if you're 6, then like your humor is very bit different than it gets for an adult. But I remember being like, I need to write down jokes. I need to memorize them and I need to tell them to the people like I see if they want it or not. So it inspired me to do some very, very premature sketch writing, I would say.
That's very cool. There's not many 6-year-olds that I know that are sort of writing sketches for themselves. I seem to remember my sense of humor was quite scatological, and it still is. A good, well-placed fart still makes me laugh, or a burp.
Same here. Same here.
my my daughter can burp. What can she burp? There's some sort of song that's on TikTok. She goes, burp, 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 burp. And my wife hates it. But I give her a little round of applause because I kind of go, well, yeah, there's a skill in that. I'm sure you could make money one day in that.
I
Wow,
think so.
6-year-old sketch writer. Fantastic. So I was a big fan of the Muppets, Sesame Street and all that kind of stuff.
Same.
So I kind of like that imagined world. So it's kind of a world that you're invited into. And I think improv is slightly similar to that in terms of how you build your world. How do you first kind of engage with an audience, and then like the onboarding or welcoming, and then, oh, this is how the evening's going to proceed? What's the thing that you've developed over the years that you kind of go, oh, that's the thing that I found that works really well?
Mm, I really like engaging with the audience, and even if I perform outside of improv and just do drag, I seek this connection with people. What I like to assume is that we are on a sort of equal level of like being a part of a performance. My advantage here is that sometimes I may know what's happening, and most of the time they are not really aware of or where exactly we are. So like this is my role kind of to explain. So basically being experienced with solo performance, it kind of gave me this idea that the people in the audience, they, first of all, they like you. Second of all, they want to become a part of this world that you're creating with them. Uh, Third, they want to interact somehow, but obviously everybody has a different comfort zone. That's why, like, I keep my conversations kind of focused on not being intrusive, through being, for example, like too funny and like mocking things that are kind of uh, like personal, whatever. I think I have quite a good rapport with people, just like in general. So it's just really comes in handy. But after all, I think it's all just like one big joke that we are co-creating. And if jokes that we made up were just, like fart songs for 50 minutes, it's still fun, it's still cool, and it's something that we did together. So that's just like my approach here.
Yeah, I think more and more and more, and more in sort of traditional theatre, there's the sort of relationship where you're just a consumer or a voyeur,
Yeah.
and you don't really feel connected in that way. And for years, I didn't mind that, but more and more, and I think post pandemic, I think people want to connect in a slightly different way as an audience. And I'm not saying each audience wants to do that, and it's sort of this, everybody's having the same thoughts and emotions. They're not, but I think there's a genuine interest in kind of going, okay, I want to share myself with the world a little bit more, which I think is a really beautiful thing, actually. And for you to
Yeah.
facilitate that as part of that conversation within your world that you're generating is ace. If folk haven't followed VUJO, you can on Instagram at VUJOZA. Is that right?
Yes.
Yeah, VUJOZA. Um, um, they put up loads of different really interesting stuff. Every time I see something, I just go, oh my gosh, this person has got such creativity. And some of the headdresses, you would agree to come all the way to Liverpool and share your work with us, because I've then looked at all this stuff and I was kind of going, oh my gosh, this is going to be wild. I can't wait. So, tell me about a moment of magic that you've either experienced on stage. And what I mean by magic is something where you kind of go, that was really unexpected and it has stayed with me somehow. It's etched into my brain, that memory. And it could be either as you as performer, or it could be you as an audience member, or it could be in a non-performance space where something spontaneous has happened. You just kind of go, "Oh, that stays with me."
Hmm. Uh, I think with like my memories of magic happening on stage, I would have to start with just like saying that everything in improv is sort of magical. Obviously, everybody says that, but the thing is, uh, we kind of uh, agree together that what we are creating becomes true. Like, and this is the essence of improv. And isn't like magic about that, basically? About like just creating something and everybody else says, yeah, we see that. So if I were to like play like a philosopher here, I would say that these are like very similar occurrences, and like I kind of do feel like a magician whenever I get to play a show where we get to create something, which is like basically every improv show. However, one memory which just always comes back to me when it comes to like remembering the magic happen was one of the improv retreats I did a while back. I think was 2018, 2019 or so. It was one of the retreats organized by the Maydays, I believe. And what we did after we finished, like with the workshops and everything, we just played the stream of consciousness with like a bunch of other improvisers who were just like sticking around after the show. And people were just like coming and going into the room and just becoming a part of like the whole stream of consciousness. There were like no rules whatsoever. And I remember like playing a rug and then like a paddle and then a claw and then just being like, okay, this has like no rules whatsoever and this is magical. I could actually spend 6 hours just playing stream of consciousness with those people I just met basically a few hours ago, and it's gonna be amazing an experience just because we are allowing each other this space to have no rules and just have fun. So I think that was my earliest like magical moment, but not the only one for sure.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, that sounds amazing. So I had a similar experience with a theatre company, and how they develop their shows is that they develop the characters first,
Mhm.
and then they sort of they are those characters for
Yeah.
the whole day in the rehearsal. So wherever those characters end up, so we were all over the building, we were going up and down lifts. It wasn't they didn't stay in the space, and they had at the time, and this is quite early in early 2000s, they had a videographer with them. So they're permanently documenting, and they were just taking all these slight little moments, and then they write them up, and then they make a play from these just bizarre little moments. And that's how they worked. It was just, I was just like, wow, this is just just a different way of creating a play through literally play.
Yeah.
Which I thought was, which was at the time, I was just like, that really made my head go, because I love devising, like making plays through improvisation, and I loved improv and stuff like that. But I was kind of going, this is next level. This is like, whoa, the work on the cat. So the characters weren't disposable. They were an extension of themselves, the sort of persona. And is that something that you kind of work on? Because obviously we don't see you in the same way when you're on stage.
Yeah.
Is that the persona that you developed over time, or is that something that you put on and then you get a new persona, or is this I'm not asking to reveal any of the tricks or anything like that, but I'm kind of really interested with
Yeah.
that sort of level of, not I won't say disguise, but there's almost like it's working with mask, if that makes
Yes.
sense.
I think it kind of is like developing a mask or a number of masks. As every kind of acting or creating a character is, in my case, this character is brought to life for a bit longer than a 1 hour show. So like it just kind of sticks with me along the way, and it obviously also develops and adjusts and shifts wherever I feel I need to shift because we are like so close together. I wouldn't even say that there is a bit of there is any polarity or a strong division between myself in drag, especially since I get to do a lot of things that are linked to hosting, for example, or just like interacting with the audience. So, and I think at some point, if you host a lot, you cannot really pretend to be someone else that you are like naturally. At least to some extent. Maybe it's just me, but I found that my drag character and myself, or my stage character, if I could also divide these, um, they kind of merge together through just through doing drag and like using those different media, and like also connecting to what you mentioned, like how like using those different media as, for example, a camcorder, or even in the pandemic, we experienced doing online improv. Like not everybody loved it, but it just like opened our eyes to how we can see ourselves in a context which is a bit different than just like a regular seller with 10 shares, as some may think like the improv environment usually looks like. So we rediscover ourselves still using improv and still doing our thing. However, there are like all those other things going on at the same time. So I think this is for me a rediscovery journey most of the time. And even when I interact with like my own Instagram feed and see the persona created there, it's obviously a bit different than me on stage. However, still it's like some part of me. So it's really interesting, actually.
Yeah. No, I'm sort of, because I used to I studied old what we in Britain is like music hall, which
Mhm.
is like variety acts, and one of those that I really enjoyed a lot was a person called Vesta Tilly, uh,
Mm.
who
Yeah,
was
I know. Yeah.
so kind of I was kind of going, oh, and then I was kind of going, if you look at one, so they used to play a fop, sort of a quite a lord, which obviously is quite satirical, and I
Yeah.
was kind of going, look at where drag king has gone from to where it is now is amazing. I was kind of, and then I sort of was Googling, kind of going, okay, who else is out there? And I was kind of going, wow, this is just a whole new, like in America, I was just like kind of going, wow, this is amazing. So it's not particularly a world, I'm much more familiar with drag queen in terms of seeing it in clubs and comedy clubs and stuff like that. But drag king, certainly in Liverpool, there's a company called Moon Cup
Yeah.
who all are drag kings, and it's really interesting this sort of movement that's I think it feels very, or certainly when I've seen it, it feels very empowering. Is that the case for you? Yeah.
I think so. Being able to perform in a role which is like traditionally and societally more like allowed for more freedom, if I may,
Yeah,
if
yeah,
I may say that, is liberating. At the same time, it's also like a process of rediscovery from like the standpoint of to what extent do I want to perform masculinity, and to what extent do I want to perform like any other gender, if I may just like call it that.
yeah,
Because obviously the expectation, as it is for drag queens, so the expectations are usually, I want to see like a woman, I want to see a blonde hair, long legs, like some like I don't want to know how to. I'm not sure how. What's the audience for this interview? Are they adults? So I would say that the viewers may want to see drag queens like have a bosom or like any other, like traditionally feminine characteristics.
yeah,
And the same like expectation may go for drag kings. So let's say big mustaches, beards, like hats, etc. However, what I see, and this is actually the coolest thing I see, like when it comes to like the drag scene, is that like a lot of people, including myself, hopefully, we go beyond that like gender division. So we can have drag kings who are like dressed very flamboyantly and who look different than a traditional man. And the same goes with drag queens
Yeah.
who look different than a traditional woman. Mm, this kind of creates like a new world, a new aesthetics, and I'm really excited always to see like drag performers in improv spaces, because improv space is like kind of based on the premise of openness, drag
Yeah. Yeah.
also. So they kind of belong together at the end of the day, at least to some extent.
Yeah. I mean, Le Gato Chocolat, who I love, is kind of, you know, an amazing singer, big beard, and
Yeah.
you just kind of go. And so they are doing they're doing another children's show at Manchester International Festival, and I kind of go, wow. When I was a kid, you know, the world has just evolved in such a beautiful way. I'm kind of so excited. So I've seen about kind of what inspired you to make this kind of work in terms of kind of combining musical, improv, drag. It's kind of like you've got these three things that then you sit there intersecting in the middle called VUJO, which I think you should
Yeah.
have I think you should have a t-shirt with those two things with a thing going VUJO.
I'll get it printed for for the show.
I
I'll be
love
handing.
I love an infographic in some way, shape, or form.
Oh, I do love them too. So I need to, yeah, I need to write it down and just like bring some merch in. This is actually a very cool question because I've been doing musical improv since I would say 2019 or so, even before I started doing drag in its current form. And I always loved musical improv so much. I think it's the type of improv that allows you for so much freedom and just the feeling, like the rush you feel from doing improv is just like magnified when it comes to musical improv and just like creating music together, creating narratives that's like use music. So for me to kind of like bring these two together was like kind of a natural choice when it comes to like creating a show that would make sense in regard to like what I would enjoy the most doing. And at the same time, I was really inspired by like kind of self-exploratory journey of like where does my drag come from? I actually thinking about like how does it reflect like the men I have met, the men that have shaped me as like a person, also a performer. And one of the strongest influences was my father, who kind of inspires my drag up to this day. He was also like very colorful a person, like very extravagant. So it's a bit of a mix of those like personal influences, but at the same time it's not like an inwards journey as much as it is an outwards journey. So I'm kind of like inviting people to like do the same thing with like their life story, just like think about the men they've met, what kind of songs they would inspire, what kind of songs would tell their story. So we're kind of like reshaping our experience with masculinity. But for me to be able to do it with improv and with music is actually a blessing because it's like probably the most fun you'll ever have while talking about patriarchy, I think. Oh,
Yeah,
I'm not sure I can hear. Oh, yeah.
there we go. Sorry, my dog was barking, so I've just had to.
No worries.
Um, so yeah, no, I completely concur, and the idea of the biographical, because very often I think improvisers feel like they've got to create a facade. And a great teacher I had was a guy called John Thies, who's sadly no longer with us. And he was kind of going, well, we've got a well of us, and we can draw from that if you're okay with that. And you can kind of almost pull these things out, these experiences, in some way, shape, or form, allow us to reflect, but also rebalance, but also um, kind of empathize. I'm not maybe making complete sense here, but I kind of know what I want to say. But it's an opportunity to kind of reshape a little bit
Mhm.
experience. Um, so yeah, I sort of grew up in a household of women, which was very interesting experience. Not really having a father figure around, but having a very strong female, who was having to undertake both, in terms, if you want to look at those traditional roles of doing both those things. So
Mhm.
my my life experience is very different, and how I am with people is formed as a basis of that. So yeah, no, I completely, and it's really, and that's quite inspiring to hear someone say that. Actually, I'm drawing upon myself in lots of ways and incorporating that into my work, which, very often that's what artists do. I think sometimes improvisers kind of go, it's not always, but I think that level, I'm always, in the past 10, 15 years, I've kind of, what does it mean to be authentic on stage and be present and real? And actually, that is reflected. The audience are just like me. So if I talk about stuff that, you know, is ordinary, that can then become extraordinary in lots of ways, because it's a shared experience or a universal story, or all of those sort of things. Sorry, I've just waffled then trying to work out what I wanted to say.
No,
Apologies.
I really relate to what you said actually, because I think as for me, doing improv became also a story of like finding my authenticity. I sort of became uh mm, perplexed by how different authenticity can be to other people, and how for some also, and this is also fair because we're all like free to choose our paths, but for some people this path of like doing improv through your authentic self wouldn't really be working as well as for others. And this is obviously, like we're all different. But when I made this choice to sort of do improv like within my authentic self and kind of lose the former idea of this like funny 6-year-old and then that I referred to in the beginning, and I accepted that like the person performing is like myself, not some like uh Powerpuff Girl who just like bursts jokes like like farts in the fart song. I kind of had to just like go along with it, and like I do love performing with people who also like kind of went into this like the same path. Okay, I want to be authentic like in life, I want to be authentic in improv. uh I'm kind of like, it is what it is. And we just like make things happen without like putting on like any extra burdens of like maintaining the facades we're not enjoying, basically.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I was, when I was, slightly younger, I was a very physical performer, as in I wouldn't necessarily say a lot. I would show with my body.
Yeah.
That was kind of my training, and I was kind of aware that that was an artifice. So it was a sort of armor, and slowly I do less of that now, and I'm kind of much more engaged in how am I feeling right now, and that impulse that's required within this thing. Okay, and I think that comes with, or certainly was for me, was came with a sense of age and maturity. And it sounds like you've discovered that much earlier than I did. So well done, you.
Or maybe I just heard about it and I'm trying to profess it, but you know, we're yet to, each of us is yet to find even a better way to just like do what we do. And I think I'm still, you know, I'm still searching as all of us. If we stop searching, then where are we? That would be weird because
Well,
improv is about searching
I
most
mean,
of the
kind of I'm constantly kind of inspired by the world in terms of who I meet or who I work with, and all of those things are sort of stuff that you can kind of talk about. And you know, I read, I consume the news. I've got stuff to say that makes me annoyed. So, and I'm sure that experience is shared by others. So I'm quite prepared to kind of go, I disagree with this, and I'm not sort of necessarily political with a big P, but certainly personal politics kind of, you know, come out. And I think to hide that, to sort of almost kind of go, oh no, I'm just neutral in everything I did. I just find that slightly, and I was aware that I did that up until a point because I didn't want to offend, and I kind of went, well, why should I care? Who
time.
cares? Who am I trying to imply? Who am I trying? As long as I know that I've done a good show or I've been true to the situation or myself, then I know I've done my job. I always worried too much about what other people thought, and chucking those shackles away was very liberating, I have to say.
I can really relate to that experience. Also seeing that we as improvisers, if I may generalize to that extent, at some point, like most of us have been taught to kind of be neutral in um, in our interactions, in our jokes, not to uh, oh, we were kind of taught not to cross as many lines, if I may. So, like the comfort of
Yeah.
others was defined also by like everyone staying within the same like premises of like neutrality. So the idea, I think, was to create like a common platform where like everything is neutral, and then we can, you know, play in like this like neutral improv game. And obviously to some extent it is like true, and like we have like many times I also have enjoyed playing and like seeing that okay, we have like this easiness of like just jumping into things because everybody's just like, you know, on their best behavior sort of. But the thing is like when I started meeting more and more people who were like of different backgrounds than mine and of like different identities and different experiences, different age groups, different countries, the more it became important to find out like about each other, also from the standpoint of being able to interact mm, like smoother, just be aware of like each other's feelings, because I think it's only natural to also if you see, for example, you're uh another player not being in the best mood, obviously like the neutrality uh paradigm would just kind of don't ask, don't tell, and just like, you know, let's just play along and not really dig into anybody's business. However, like our natural empathy kind of, I wouldn't say forces us, but our natural empathy it encourages us to ask, okay, so like Steven, what's up? Like, are you feeling, are you okay? Do you want to talk about it? And when we break this fence of neutrality and kind of like interact with each other's sadness, also disabilities, so because like also I'm neurodivergent, so I also like witnessed how much uh bad bad light can mess with like your well-being like before a show. And we kind of need to see like that we are humans, like each of us. So I think to some extent, uh we kind of learned that, like, some of us, like, during the pandemic, because like it was already too late to pretend everything's like great and or at least okay. However, now practicing after we were brought back to those common spaces, and we kind of had to face the music with the feelings we have, and like the conditions we have, it kind of made authenticity the easiest way to be able to have those conversations and actually interact. So I think for some people, maybe this hasn't happened yet or won't happen ever. But for me, just like I kind of found this amazing comfort in just talking to people as they are, and hoping, and also like being authentic in my uh like whether on stage or off stage, as a person.
Yeah, no, I concur absolutely. Um, my son's autistic, and he has very reactive to sound, um, and and particular clothing types and things like that. And it took a long time to sort of kind of go, oh, okay. And then I kind of started to reflect on myself, and I went, I don't wear denim.
Yeah.
I just don't wear denim. I've never ever really worn denim, and I feel really uncomfortable in it for some reason. I always kind of wear this sort of this sort of stuff. So I don't know if that's anything, but you know, it's really interesting. I kind of go, oh, okay, yeah, completely get that idea of um the what is the level of honesty that is both in real life, because we all sort of wear masks in real life to kind of hide our pain, or we're in a situation where we can't show our anger, or we can't be what we're really feeling. We have to kind of, and I think in lots of situations, the opportunity on stage to kind of not unleash, but kind of almost have that opportunity to be, I we're working together in this, and I'm going to be honest with you, and I think people, I don't think they think it's risky anymore. I think they admire and I don't think it's necessarily brave, um, but I think they admire the openness of the communication that's taking place. And it could happen for 40 minutes, an hour, whatever it is. But that sort of bravery, not use that word again, that sort of openness
Yeah.
is people remember, and they almost kind of go, I want to be a little bit braver. And that's something that I sort of, so on my phone, I went, it was described, my wife described, I went through my melancholy decade, which was kind of like, and so I don't know, it was quite revelatory when she went, yeah. And then I kind of have a mantra now, which is find the fun, which is one of the reasons I set up the festival. So everything now is in a search of kind of find the fun.
Yeah.
And that was, you know, that was a good moment. Although I'm a very good sort of dour, grumpy kind of man as well, which can also be very funny.
Well, it's important to balance things out, right? So
Yeah, yeah. So that's my yin to my yang. I'm either one end of the scale or the other end of the scale, and kind of pull me off the ceiling, or
it's
in fact,
never boring, see?
so in terms of, so I always ask the question around how has improv impacted your life, or you know, how's it informed it? Has it made it better, or why? That's a sort of really open question.
Mhm.
And you don't have to reveal too much. It could just be that I listen better, which is what it was for me.
I will. I will, due diligence wise, I kind of changed a lot about my life inspired by improv. I quit a job I was doing without having another one lined up. So that was something I did for improv. I started doing comedy. First, I wouldn't say it was full time, but I kind of started doing comedy as a side job. I started doing comedy writing as a side job. I started performing even before doing drag as such. I started performing with like queer numbers, like kind of like attempted drag, impersonations, etc. Also like through improv. Like improv gave me this confidence that I can do it, because I was like, I just looked around, I was like, I'm not less funny than anyone here, so I'll just do it. And like if my understanding of also my improv journey was that I've played enough of like different scenes, been enough in enough of like difficult like improv situations, I can like make things work. So this kind of gave me this courage to like also give it a go in the real life, even if it seemed a bit unorthodox to make some decisions, or just, you know, to trust some choices. And now I'm really happy with like the way my life is. So I would say like without improv, I'd be just like very, very sad probably. Or even if I wouldn't be sad, I would be um on a different path than I am right now. So I'm really blessed that like a friend of mine introduced me to improv and asked me to go to like an introductory improv course with them, and I had like zero knowledge of improv at that point. So it was like a very happy and cute coincidence that happened those like what 7 years back.
Wow. Wow, there you go. And they say we work in 7-year cycles. Like
Oh yeah,
yeah, there you go. You're at the cusp of the next cycle.
I am. Oh no. Oh what? Hopefully it's gonna be good though.
No, no, it's a very powerful thing at the cusp because you're open to change.
Hmm.
Also, you don't forget your past because that informs the future, but at the same, you're at the point where there's a big, my 7-year cycles are really so that sort of melancholy years was the end of this that 7-year cycle, which is the next one. So I'm about year 3 into mine. So I don't know where I'll be headed next, but you
Are
know,
you enjoying?
yeah, absolutely.
Good.
Kind of, I kind of I stopped worrying about what people thought.
Hmm.
And I went, if I'm happy with the work and I know I've done a good job, then that should be good enough. Because who am I making it for? I'm not making it. I'm aware of the audience, but I'm not making work to please an audience. I'm making work to please me. And if they like it vicariously because we're in this together, then and that's the thing. And it's not an arrogant kind of I'm just making work for myself. No, it's not that at all. What I realized, as I've explained earlier, I was quite neutral in that experience. I was kind of almost felt like I was being puppeteered
Yeah.
in my own mind. I was being told what to sort of almost do to please an audience as opposed to pleasing myself and the audience at the same. So yeah.
I really, really agree
You're
with
very
that.
easy to talk to. It's almost like I'm talking to a psychologist where you're gradually pulling all this stuff out of me.
Yeah, I think we're just having, like we're just having a good, honest
Yeah.
conversation, and we're both at this point that we like to share our like our findings, our experiences, and like whatever, like whenever you bring something up, I'm like, I agree 100%, because this is also something I kind of thought like I think 1 or 2 years back, that like there is no way you can ask every audience member for their honest feedback and actually like receive it in a space where we play. Even if you send out, I don't know, you send out like surveys, whatever, they won't all respond. Even if they respond, then some of them may say, okay, it was brilliant, and you never saw them smile. Some of them you saw smile and they still didn't enjoy it. So the only thing you'd actually kind of promise yourself is that you're gonna just embrace, have a good time, and try to like react whenever you see, I don't know, if people start crying, obviously you cannot just ignore it, but you know, it's just like trusting yourself at some point, and your best improv partner, and you are your own best friends when it comes to stage environment and everything. So I think, yeah, I agree 100%.
Okay, so you get chance to guest curate LIF 2025, and money is no object.
Mhm.
Who would you bring? A show, a workshop teacher, someone who you would. A big thank you to VUJO. That was an amazing conversation, and one I hope that we can pick up again in Liverpool. So I'm just gonna stop the recording.
Yes. But thank you so much for like also inspiring me so much like during this 1 hour of just us talking. I really enjoyed it. I'm really looking forward to having more talks when I come to Liverpool.